Marcus and his coworker Angela both started at the same company 9 years ago, making $42,000 per year. They are both 32 now. They both got similar raises. They both make $71,000 today. Marcus has $14,000 saved across his 401k and a savings account. Angela has $106,000. Marcus cannot understand how Angela has 7.5 times more money than he does when they have had nearly identical incomes for 9 years. He asked her about it last week. Angela said she focused on hitting a 100,000 as fast as possible, and everything after that happened automatically. Marcus did not understand what she meant. He has been trying to save for 9 years. He puts money away when he can. He has $14,000 to show for it. Angela said the first 100,000 is the only part that requires discipline. After that, compound interest does most of the work. Marcus thought she was exaggerating. Then Angela showed him the math. She hit $100,000 invested 3 years ago when she was 29. In the 3 years since, that $100,000 grew to $138,000 just from market returns. She contributed $18,000 over those 3 years. Her account grew by $38,000. She put in $18,000. The market gave her $20,000. The money made more money than she contributed. Meanwhile, Marcus has been contributing about $2,000 per year for 9 years, $18,000 total contributions. His balance is $14,000 because he keeps pulling money out for emergencies, and he keeps most of it in a savings account earning nothing. He never hit the threshold where compound interest takes over. Angela crossed the threshold 3 years ago. Now her money is compounding faster than Marcus can save. The gap is not going to close. It is going to widen exponentially. Angela will be a millionaire by 52. Marcus will be lucky to have 200,000. Same jobs, same income, different understanding of how wealth actually builds. Marcus missed the rule. Angela followed it. The rule is simple. The first 100,000 is everything. After that, the math works for you instead of against you. I am Bobby, and I spent the last 6 months analyzing why reaching $100,000 invested is the single most important financial milestone most people will ever hit, and why the people who reach it early end up exponentially wealthier than people who never get there. If you are trying to build wealth but your account balance feels like it is growing too slowly, if you have been saving for years and the numbers still feel small, if you wonder when investing actually starts to feel like it is working, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. What I am about to show you is not generic advice to save more money. This is about why the first 100,000 invested is mathematically different from every other 100,000 you will ever save, and why people who understand this rule get rich, while people who do not stay broke despite earning good incomes. The first 100,000 rule is real, and it determines whether you build wealth or just survive. Most people think wealth building is linear. You save $10,000 per year for 10 years and you have $100,000. You save $10,000 per year for 30 years and you have $300,000. Steady contributions lead to steady growth. That's what it feels like when you're starting, and it is completely wrong. Wealth building is exponential, not linear. The curve is flat for years and then it bends upward sharply. The inflection point, the moment the curve bends, happens around $100,000 invested. Before $100,000, you are grinding. You contribute and the balance barely moves. After $100,000, the money starts compounding at a rate that feels disproportionate to your contributions. Marcus has $14,000. If he contributes $2,000 this year and the market returns 8%, his balance grows to $17,120. He contributed $2,000. The account grew by $31,120. It feels like progress, but $2,000 of that growth was his contribution. Only $1,120 came from investment returns. He is still doing most of the work. Angela has 106,000. If she contributes 6,000 this year and the market returns 8%, her balance grows to 120,480. She contributed 6,000. The account grew by 14,480. 8,480 came from investment returns. The market contributed more than she did. She is no longer doing most of the work. The money is working harder than she is. This is the threshold. This is why the first 100,000 changes everything. The math of compounding is brutal in the beginning and magical after the threshold. Angela saved aggressively for 6 years to hit 100,000 by age 29. She was contributing 12,000 per year from age 23 to 29 while living on very little. It felt like deprivation. She was saving 12,000 per year and her balance was growing slowly because the compounding hadn't kicked in yet. At year 3, she had 40,000. 12,000 per year times 3 is 36,000 in contributions. The market gave her 4,000. She did 90% of the work. At year 6, she had 103,000. 12,000 per year times 6 is 72,000 in contributions. The market gave her 31,000. She did 70% of the work. The market was starting to help, but she was still doing most of it. Then she crossed 100,000 and everything changed. Year 7, she contributed 12,000. The market gave her 8,240. Year 8, she contributed 6,000. She reduced contributions because she bought a house. The market gave her 9,060. The market gave her more than she contributed, even though she cut her contributions in half. Year 9, she contributed 6,000 again. The market gave her 10,000. She is now in the phase where the market does more than she does every single year for the rest of her life. Marcus never got there. He has been contributing inconsistently for 9 years. He has 14,000. He is still in the phase where he does all the work and the market contributes almost nothing. He will stay in this phase until he crosses the threshold. If he never crosses it, he'll grind forever and retire with nothing. Charlie Munger said the first 100,000 is a bitch. He was worth billions when he said that. He still remembered how hard the first 100,000 was because it is qualitatively different from every other milestone. The first 100,000 requires you to outsave your instincts. Humans are not wired to delay gratification for years with no visible reward. Saving 12,000 per year when your balance is 40,000 and growing by 3,000 feels pointless. You are sacrificing 12,000 in lifestyle to watch a number tick up by 15,000. That does not feel like winning. It feels like grinding. Most people quit during this phase. They decide investing doesn't work or the returns aren't worth the sacrifice. They stop contributing. They pull money out for a car or a vacation or an emergency. They reset to zero. They never cross the threshold. Angela did not quit. She kept contributing 12,000 per year even when it felt like nothing was happening. She understood that the first 6 years were the price of admission. You pay the price for 6 years and you get 40 years of compounding. Marcus quit mentally around year 3. He didn't stop contributing entirely, but he stopped prioritizing it. He started treating his savings as a backup fund instead of an untouchable investment. Every time he hit 10,000, something came up. Car repair, medical bill, trip he didn't want to miss. He pulled money out, he reset, he never crossed the threshold. Angela treated her investment account like it didn't exist. She automated contributions. She didn't check the balance. She didn't pull money out. She crossed the threshold. The difference between them is not income or intelligence. The difference is that Angela understood the rule and Marcus did not.
The time component is what makes this urgent. Angela hit 100,000 at 29. She has 36 years until 65 for that money to compound. 100,000 at 8% annual returns for 36 years becomes 1.7 million. She contributed 100,000 by age 29. The market will turn it into 1.7 million by 65. She does not need to contribute another dollar and she will retire a millionaire. Obviously, she will keep contributing and she will end up with much more, but the 100,000 she saved by 29 is worth 1.7 million at retirement. Marcus will not hit 100,000 until he is 47 if he keeps contributing 2,000 per year. At 47, he will have 18 years until 65 for that 100,000 to compound. 100,000 at 8% for 18 years becomes 400,000. Marcus and Angela both saved 100,000. Angela saved hers by 29. Marcus saved his by 47. Angela's 100,000 becomes 1.7 million. Marcus's 100,000 becomes 400,000. The difference, 1.3 million, exists because Angela hit the milestone 18 years earlier. Time is the variable that determines whether 100,000 becomes life-changing or just comfortable. If you hit 100,000 at 30, you win. If you hit it at 50, you are still behind. The opportunity cost of delaying the first 100,000 is catastrophic, and nobody talks about it clearly. Marcus spent his 20s spending money on things that felt important at the time. He upgraded his car twice, he took expensive vacations, he bought a bunch of furniture and electronics, he lived in a nicer apartment than he needed. All of that consumption delayed his timeline to 100,000 by a decade. That decade will cost him over $1 million in retirement wealth. He traded $1 million in his 60s for consumption in his 20s. That is the trade. Nobody explained it to him that way. If someone had told Marcus at 23 that buying a new car instead of a used car would cost him $200,000 in retirement wealth, he would not have bought the new car. But nobody explained compound opportunity cost. They just told him to save for retirement, and he figured he would start later. Later is the most expensive decision you can make. Angela made the opposite trade. She lived in a terrible apartment in her 20s. She drove a car she hated. She did not take vacations. She delayed gratification for 6 years to hit 100,000 by 29. That 6 years of deprivation bought her financial independence by 52. She will retire 13 years early and live better in retirement than Marcus will live while working. The sacrifice was 6 years. The payoff is 40 years. Marcus sacrificed nothing in his 20s. He will sacrifice his entire retirement. He will work until 70 and live on less than he makes now. The math does not care about fairness. It cares about who hit the threshold and who did not. The specific strategies to hit 100,000 fast are not complicated, but they require temporary lifestyle destruction that most people will not accept. Angela made $71,000 per year by the time she hit 100,000 at 29. Her average income from 23 to 29 was probably $55,000. She was saving $12,000 per year on $55,000 average income. That is a 22% savings rate. Her take-home after taxes was probably $42,000. She was living on $30,000 per year. $30,000 per year is $2,500 per month. That is poverty-level spending in most cities. She had roommates. She drove a 15-year-old car. She brought lunch to work every day. She did not eat out. She did not buy new clothes. She did not subscribe to anything. She did not go to weddings or bachelor parties that required travel. She said no to everything that cost money for 6 years. Most people cannot sustain that. Most people will not sustain that. They will tell themselves they will start saving seriously next year when they get a raise, or when they pay off this one thing, or when life calms down. Life does not calm down. Next year never comes. Angela accepted that 23 to 29 were going to be financially miserable. She locked in the misery. She got it over with. Now she's 32 and her money is compounding, and she can live like a normal person and still end up wealthy. Marcus tried to have a balanced life in his 20s. He saved a little, he spent a little. He never committed to the grind. Now he's 32 and he's starting over, and he has to grind for another 15 years to get where Angela already is. Balanced sounds better than extreme. Balanced keeps you poor. Extreme for a short period gets you to the threshold. After the threshold, you do not need to be extreme anymore. The money does the work. The employer match and tax advantages are what make hitting 100,000 faster than it seems if you actually maximize the tools available. Angela maxed out her Roth IRA every year from 23 to 29. That's $6,000 per year starting in 2019 and $6,500 before that. Call it $6,000 average. She also contributed $6,000 per year to her 401k to get the full employer match. Her employer matched 50% up to 6% of her salary. 6% of $55,000 is $3,300. Her employer contributed $1,650 per year. Angela's total annual investment was her $6,000 Roth plus her $6,000 401k plus $1,650 employer match. $13,650 per year total going into investments. She was only contributing $12,000 from her paycheck. The employer match and the tax deduction on the 401k contribution made it feel like less. She did this for 6 years. $13,650 times 6 is $81,900. The market gave her returns on that $81,900 over 6 years, and she crossed $100,000. Marcus contributed to his 401k sporadically. Some years he contributed enough to get the match, some years he did not. He never opened a Roth IRA because he thought he didn't have enough money. He left free money on the table. He gave up the tax advantages. He made it harder on himself. The tools exist to accelerate the timeline to 100,000. Most people do not use them because they do not understand that the timeline is the entire game. The lifestyle inflation trap is what kills most people's chance of ever hitting 100,000. Marcus got a raise from $42,000 to $53,000 at age 25, an $11,000 raise. He should have invested the entire raise. If he had invested $11,000 per year starting at 25, he would have hit 100,000 by 31. He would be in Angela's position right now. He did not invest the raise. He upgraded his apartment. He bought a nicer car. He started eating out more. He absorbed the entire raise into lifestyle. His savings rate stayed flat. He is still contributing $2,000 per year at $71,000 income, just like he was contributing $2,000 per year at $42,000. His lifestyle grew with his income. His investments did not. Angela did the opposite. Every raise she got went entirely to investments. She lived on $40,000 at age 23. She still lived on $40,000 at age 29, even though she was making $60,000. Every dollar of income growth went to her Roth and her 401k. Her lifestyle froze for 6 years. Her investments exploded. The lifestyle inflation trap is not about whether you earn more. It's about whether you spend more when you earn more. If you spend the raises, you stay broke at every income level. If you invest the raises, you hit the threshold, and then you can spend because the compounding takes over. Marcus spent first. Angela invested first. Marcus is broke at $71,000. Angela is wealthy at $71,000. Same income, different decision about what to do with income growth. The risk tolerance lie is what financial advisors use to keep people from hitting 100,000 as fast as they should. Marcus has his $14,000 split between a savings account earning 1% and a conservative 401k allocation that is 40% bonds. He's 32. He has 33 years until retirement. He does not need bonds. Bonds return 4%. Stocks return 10%. The difference between 4% and 10% over 30 years is the difference between his $14,000 becoming $70,000 versus $320,000. He is in bonds because a financial advisor told him he should have a balanced allocation to reduce risk. The advisor did not tell Marcus that being conservative at 32 is the highest risk decision he can make because it guarantees he will not have enough money at retirement. Angela has her $106,000 in 100% stocks. She will not shift to bonds until she is 55. She is taking market risk in exchange for maximum growth. The market will crash multiple times between now and 55. She does not care. She is not touching the money. Crashes do not matter if you are not selling. Marcus is afraid of crashes because he does not understand how compounding works.
He thinks he is protecting his money by being conservative. He is destroying his money by being conservative. Conservative allocations are for people who are already at the threshold and do not want to lose what they built. If you are not at the threshold yet, conservative allocations guarantee you never get there. Here is what Marcus needs to do, and it is going to feel impossible, but it is the only path. He needs to increase his savings rate from $2,000 per year to $15,000 per year immediately. He makes $71,000. Take home is probably $50,000 after taxes. $15,000 per year is 30% of take home. He needs to live on $35,000 per year. That is $2,900 per month. He currently lives on $48,000 per year. He needs to cut expenses by $13,000 annually. He needs to move to a cheaper apartment or get a roommate, save $6,000 per year. He needs to sell his car and buy a beater, save $3,000 per year. He needs to stop eating out and cook every meal, save $3,000 per year. He needs to cancel subscriptions and stop buying things, save $1,000 per year. Total cuts, $13,000. New savings rate, $15,000 per year. If Marcus does this starting now at 32 and maintains it for 7 years until 39, he will have $115,000 invested by 39. At that point, he can reduce his savings rate back to something normal like $6,000 per year, and the compounding will carry him. $115,000 at 39 compounding at 8% until 65 is $1.1 million. He retires a millionaire. If he does not do this, if he keeps contributing $2,000 per year, he will have $63,000 at 65. He retires broke. The decision is 7 years of extreme spending cuts or 40 years of being poor. Most people will choose 40 years of being poor because 7 years of sacrifice feels unbearable. Angela chose 7 years of sacrifice. She is financially free at 32. Marcus will choose comfort. He will work until 75. If you are Marcus, or if you are under 40 and you do not have $100,000 invested yet, the steps are brutal but clear. First, calculate your current savings rate. Take your total annual contributions to retirement accounts and divide by your gross income. If the number is under 20%, you are not on track to hit $100,000 in time for it to matter. Increase the rate immediately. Second, automate contributions so you do not have to make the decision every month. Set up automatic transfers to your Roth IRA and increase your 401k contribution percentage until it hurts. The money should leave your paycheck before you see it. If you see it, you will spend it. Third, cut your living expenses to the bone for the next 5 to 7 years. Move somewhere cheaper, get rid of the car payment, stop eating out, cancel everything. This is temporary. You are buying your future. The sacrifice is 5 years. The payoff is 40 years. Fourth, invest 100% in stocks until you hit $100,000. Ignore the financial advisor who tells you to be balanced. Balanced is for people who already won. You have not won yet. You need growth. Fifth, do not touch the money. No loans, no withdrawals, no exceptions. The moment you pull money out, you reset the timeline. Treat the account like it does not exist until you hit $100,000. Sixth, track the milestone obsessively. Check your balance monthly. Celebrate every $10,000. The first $10,000 is hardest. The second $10,000 is easier. The 10th $10,000 happens automatically. You need to see progress to stay motivated. Make the progress visible. Angela hit $100,000 at 29. She will have $2.3 million at 65. Marcus will hit $100,000 at 47 if he increases his contributions now. He will have $400,000 at 65. The difference is $1.9 million. Angela and Marcus made the same income. They had the same opportunities. Angela understood the rule. Marcus did not. The rule is that the first $100,000 is the only $100,000 that matters. Every $100,000 after that happens faster and easier because the compounding accelerates, but you have to get to the first one. Most people never get there. They spend their 20s and 30s consuming, and they hit 40 with $20,000 saved, and they panic, and they try to catch up, and they cannot because the timeline is gone. The compounding window closed. They missed it. Angela did not miss it. She sacrificed 6 years and bought the rest of her life. Marcus is going to sacrifice his entire retirement because he wouldn't sacrifice 6 years. You can keep saving $2,000 per year and telling yourself you will catch up later and you will end up like Marcus. Or you can recognize that the first $100,000 is everything, that the timeline is the entire game, and the temporary extreme sacrifice is the price of permanent financial security. Angela is winning. Marcus is losing. The difference was not luck. The difference was understanding the rule and doing what the rule required even when it sucked. The first 100,000 is a bitch. After that, you are rich. I've been obsessing over this so you understand why that one milestone changes everything. If this makes you want to hit 100,000 as fast as possible, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.